Well, welcome to another episode of the Top Corner Podcast. And guess what, guys? And today is our second part two of Football 101. So,
yes, sir.
If you didn't watch part one or you're trying to figure out when was part one done, hey, just go in the chat.
Last week, bitch.
Yes.
Sorry.
Whatever
everyone.
he said, that's what you are.
Attention, class.
Just go on the channel and watch part one, and that's gonna help you carry you through part two, and you're gonna understand. And when the league and the season is gonna kick on, you will know what's going on, basically.
Yeah. Or at least have. Again, it's a complete assault of all the senses. There's so many competitions and so many rules and so many things in the culture that you're still going to be relatively clueless that first season.
Yeah.
But this really helps you lay the groundwork down.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions that you're going to be asking anyway will be addressed here.
Yes,
so it's
sir.
good to just kind of get a good head start here. And last week we were really talking about the basic rules and the structure of the game itself. I think what a lot of people really have a tough time understanding now is how the competitions really work, because American sports really, you have the one league at the top and everybody stays in that league and nobody really plays outside of that.
And you have standings, you know. Basically, in football, instead of just one league, there's so many leagues. Now, each country has their own domestic England is Premier League. So basically, that's the league itself for all clubs involved in the country, and that determines the champion of that league in a full season, which is a year. But doing that, they still have competition. That's the beauty of this sport. Is you guys gonna be playing several things. It's just not gonna be one thing. And let's start with this one. This one is the fun part. And like I said, in part one, we kind of explain the league itself, the standing, the 3 point, the 1 point.
And before we move to the other competitions, really, let's just talk about the pyramid super quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most nations have 3 to 4 different divisions. So imagine if the NFL A, which is what you watch, then NFL B, C, and D, and the top 2 or 3, basically your Super Bowl opponents for each competition, then move up to that next level, and the bottom of the bracket move down. A lot of people have trouble with that. But then you have things like domestic cups that encapsulate everybody within the pyramid in one single thing, and we'll get to that again. But remember the pyramid, because a lot of things like European competition are based upon the pyramid system itself. So go ahead.
Like you said, we're going to start with domestic cup actually. So guess what? Like he said, there's a league, there's a division. Actually, it's a division basically. So if you're in Premier League, you can say Division 1, but it's called Premier League. And after that, I think it's Championship, which is Division 2. So basically, at the end of the year, the person with the most points wins the league, and the 3 last bottom are yeeted out of that league.
Get
and
out
the
of here.
3 first of Division 2 or Championship in England, or Ligue 2 in France are going to Ligue 1 in France, or if you're in England, you're going to Premier League. And if you are in Serie A, if you're in Italy, you're going to Serie A, because they have Serie B. It's usually based on an A, B, C, or a 1, 2, 3.
More often than not, there are some that have like Championship, like Premier League, which is confusing to a lot of people, but you just got to memorize that and learn it.
Now, during the season where you play every single weekend, there are competitions going on in the week. So that's why you see all these players. You might be, why are they flopping?
Baby's tie. Baby needs a nappy nap.
Sometimes you gotta flop a little bit, because if you play that much games, some players want to still feel good after they retire. So you have domestic cup, and most countries have domestic cup in between their league. And if you're in England, you play the FA Cup. If you are in Spain, you play Copa del Rey. I think if you're in France, you play La Coupe
de France.
Coupe de France, So,
and keep in mind, most of these domestic cup competitions are older than the league structures themselves.
Actually,
that's why they keep them around, because that's the only way that you can see teams outside of your own pieces of that pyramid playing together. Because FA Cup is a good example. You're not just playing Premier League. You're not just playing Championship. Every recognized athletic club can field a team for this. So this is like 400 something clubs in this one competition, and most of these cups are single knockout. You play, if you lose once, you're out of the entire competition. So most of these cups are designed, they are sort of that retrospective kind of idea of what cup competitions used to be before European competitions and the pyramid structure came in. It's the most old school way that most of these nations play any sort of competition, and you see a lot of big clubs and little clubs meeting up, and they can only really meet up under these circumstances, and that's what makes them a big deal for a lot of people.
I mean, you can even feel it in the name of the Spanish Cup, which is called Copa del Rey. You know, I think so it started in 1903, so very old. And it's open entry. You know, this competition are generally open to all clubs. You heard us say, well, in every league you might have A, B, C, D, which is a pyramid. Guess what? Any teams in A or First League or Division 1 or Premier League or Serie A or Ligue 1, they play each other year in, year out in the same single season year. But the beauty of domestic cup is it's like you might be the top dog, but we all get to play. So a team in Division B, C, D gets to play any team.
And even lower than that.
Lower than that, yeah.
Because in a lot of these competitions, like semi-professional clubs can get in, and if you win, you could just keep advancing.
Like in England. England has, I think, 4 professional. That's one thing that I always liked about England. There are 4 professional leagues. It means they are fully professional. That's insane to comprehend. And the 5th is actually semi-professional. And most countries don't even have 3. Like in France, it's 2. And the 3rd one is semi-professional. You know, because it's difficult to keep up with costs, have money, the clubs turning around, making a profit, and
I think that Italy have 4, but because Serie A is so profitable and they've had so many decades of being one of the best leagues in the world. But most of them don't have that many.
And doing this domestic cup, it's open entry. Any clubs play any other club, but they play at home and on the road or away. If you play FIFA.
And different, and then we can move on from the domestic cups, because that's pretty much it. It's pretty much all these teams lumped in together. The lower ranked clubs usually play more games. They enter the competition early. Premier League, I think it's like round 4 or 5 before they even touch the field. And by then, a lot of these smaller clubs have usually lost to lower level clubs within the pyramid. But you do get these sometimes where not these semi-professional clubs end up beating some of these League 1, League 2 guys, and then you have these things like giant killers that happen in not just English but in a lot of domestic cups, where even like first division teams can go down to third division teams if you're not careful, because they're not fielding their best their best side, because they have Premier League or League on games on the weekends, and it bites them in the ass. And I love seeing when the big club goes down to the really small one, especially at the small clubs grounds. It's so fun to see.
It is. And if you are in Europe, you like, if you are American, you like, if you watch the NFL basketball and you have the top guys winning either the Super Bowl or either winning the championship, and you're like, will it be fun to have a league where the best of the best get together? Guess what? In Europe, it's the same thing. Every country with its own individual league. At the end, the 3 best that we told you guys get in this whole competition, where you have the 3 best from England, the 3 best from Italy, the 3 best from France, the 3 best from... It's not always 3, actually.
And it changes.
It changes. But basically, if you... As standard, let's say 3, because most of the time, it's going to be 3. They get into this fun cup that we call, or everybody call, and it's known as UEFA Champions League. It's in the name, is the champions. It's the best of the best coming together and kicking butt. I was gonna curse, but I don't curse. But and
I like the restraint.
And everyone is excited, because this is where we get to kind of decide or measure up the best of the best of each league, and be like, oh, so this team is actually the guy. This team is him. This team so it's easy. The qualifications for this is team qualify based on their performance in their respective leagues. Like I said, the 3 let's say the 3 best, and the number of teams per country is determined by the UEFA coefficient ranking. That's why I say it's always 3.
Let me just go ahead and I'll try to get through that as quick as possible. It's a pain in the ass and it changes, but basically the higher quality of the league in general, the more spots that you get. So with all due respect, like the Ukrainian league, usually Shakhtar comes in, and I think they might get one more spot. The Belarusian league has like 1 spot, but because there's so much good talent in the Premier League, in La Liga, in Bundesliga, they have more spots available because it's designed to be the best of the best, not just X amount of teams from each country
can get in.
So the aggregate changes based on your performances in this competition as well. If you the aggregate was going to change for the Premier League because they all kind of shit the bed early, and all of a sudden you've got no Premier League sides left.
Many people for a long time were like, man, Spain always have like 4 or whatever because they've been winning for so like the amount of person that win this competition in your league also gives the chances to more participants in your league into that competition called the Champions League. It's the champions of the champions. It's played home and away. Each club gets to play. It's in bracket, but you get to play someone home and away, and you will get, as the group stage, you get in the knockout. It starts with 32 teams divided into 8 groups of 4. Each team plays the other in their group respectively, home and away. Then the most point, the top 2 teams from each group advances to the knockout stage. And the knockout stage, the knockout stage, it's 2 legs, it's home and away. And at the end, you have the final. It means at the end, you have 2 guys, and they get to...
And keep in mind the aggregate in the knockout stages. I know a lot of Western fans are not a big fan of the aggregate. And I kind of I kind of agree with it as well. I kind of do wish that, play 2 matches home and away, 100%. I believe that. I still think that a different point system might be interesting to see, because if you see a 4-2 dusting, and the team that scored the 4 goals are away from home and they come in home, even if it's a good matchup on paper or the club's status or popularity, that second leg is not going to be that much fun to watch more often than not. But then you have some of those like Barcelona comebacks and stuff that are brilliant to watch. But just keep in mind the aggregates as well. And like you said, everyone in the groups, you play everybody home and away. In the knockout stages, you play home and away again, but with the aggregate. And then the final is always a solo. And I know that with American sports, we're used to either the one-off game or like a 7-game series. We couldn't do 7 games here if we tried. MLS tries to do a best of 3 series now. Not a fan of that. But we'll talk about the MLS another day. I think that their structure for the seasons is kind of a mess. They're trying to appease European fans and American fans, and it's not quite working. But that's the Champions League. What else you got next for them there?
Actually, just a slight reminder: the Champions League format is going to change from this year. Actually, it's not going to be the one we just explained. But I know if you get into sport now, more than likely, if you watch all games, that's what you will see. But
didn't they just change the amount of clubs in?
This new system is kind of automated, and it incorporates 4 seeding pots with each of the 36 teams. Instead of 32, you now have 36 teams. Automatically assigned to a pot based on their UEFA coefficient ranking. The drawing of teams will commence, I don't know when exactly, but I think it's manually and automated. It's a weird way, but when we get to that, we'll explain better for you guys. But
the group stages and the knockout stages function the exact same way. They just added a few more teams to get more. And honestly, guys, it's not about the quality of the competition at that point. They literally just want more games because more games generate more revenue. UEFA's kind of been... UEFA's not a great organization, by the way. They're not well liked, and I know that we'll probably get flagged in this video for me saying that. Like, everybody loves the competition, but UEFA have been under heavy criticism for a very, very long time, and about trying to get more money out of more games, and it not necessarily being about their love for the competition, but the money that it generates, which I understand it's a business, but at the end of the day, it's real people, it's athletes. So, anyway.
It's also going to be weird. For example, you can go do your research on this. So if you pick a team, let's say you pick Madrid or Barcelona, then the software would draw its opponent automatically
based on that pot, and that's your coefficient or where you placed in your league. Usually pot 1 is you won your domestic league. Pot 2 is you came in second place in your league or something like that along the lines, and then it starts going down like the
now,
coefficient.
If you watch this and you were like, well, I wish there was another competition for other teams.
One more, perhaps.
For like, the top, the 4th, 5th, 6th ranking are standing, and you're like, oh man, I wish they could meet somewhere and
have a party.
Have a party. Guess what? There's another competition called the UEFA Europa League.
And really fast to tie in the domestic cups. A lot of the times, these domestic cups, where it all takes place in one nation with everyone in the pyramid involved, usually the winner of that competition gets a Europa League spot of some sort. The FA Cup winner, the Copa del Rey winner, the Pokal Cup, you usually get an immediate spot in the Europa League competition. So that ties everything in together a little bit more.
Yes, exactly. And the format is similar as Champions League, as we explained. You play, you have your groups, you play one and away, and at the end you get into knockout, and the knockout you play the final and you win. That's it.
Perfect. Then, it's that simple.
Yeah, that's it. And at the end of the season, you're like, man, I wish every single winner of the winner of clubs in the season could get together, but I don't want it to just be European. I want it to be African. I want it to be, I want everyone. Guess what? There's what you call FIFA Club World Cup. This is every winner in their own respective league coming together at the end and getting into this World Cup club competition.
Yep. So the UEFA Champions League winner, the CONCACAF Champions League winner, the CONMEBOL winner, the AFCON, and Oceania and the Asian groups as well. And I mean, it's not a long competition. It's like 6 teams overall. But I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to see those guys get together, and do that, and then each one sort of has a bit of a Super Cup as well.
Yes.
The UEFA Super Cup is the winner of the Champions League and the Europa League. They play together in a little exhibition match. It's not super important, but usually. It's one of the first big games of a season, like that, and a lot of your like charity matches and whatnot. They come in sort of as like preseason, but they still count because there is prize money, there is a cup involved.
And you might be like, why so many leagues? Guess what? Diverse participation. It gives an opportunity to any team to be at least seen. Special rules. How would you play if you play this competition? So the best of the best might not be the best of the best. It might just be the guy in your league, but outside of the league, he's nobody. So it just gives all this different way of viewing, stats wise, personal wise, also money, revenue, exposure, and prestige. You want to feel like you're the top dog everywhere, all around. So that's basically it.
And then also, guys, you also can't forget just the fact that, I mean, it's the most popular sport in the world.
Yeah.
So of course, all of these leagues, all of these cups, all of these extra competitions are going to exist. Because this is designed to sort of help American fans get acquainted with the system, because everybody else kind of knows the system. And like we said at the very beginning, we're used to a professional sports league organization being the only thing at the top, and it's all self-contained, and that is it. So you're not really used to seeing how the rest of the world has to eventually intertwine themselves. If every nation had an NFL league, there would be some sort of competition to see who would win in these circumstances. So we just don't have that in our country, and that's where a lot of the confusion comes from.
Yeah. So basically, just to cut this short, because we're finishing, we're wrapping this up. But like you see, the World Cup it's another competition that takes part every 4 years. This is for every club, every country to play.
Yep.
So basically, if you're the world champion, it means you've beaten a lot of countries. It means you actually deserve it, and you're the world champion. Not to say that if you're NBA champion, you're not the world champion, but it's just, if you just logically, it kind of doesn't make sense, right? Because you just played in that league. You can say,
and it is the best league. It is the best league in the world, but you didn't play anybody else to do it.
Yeah, that's true. But it's also like, but the world champion means the world. It's in the name. It means you played a lot of people. So that's what is good about football. Is like, you get to say you're the world because you played every other country. and you won. So I mean, it's like the world champion.
Obviously, the NBA champion, if they played the champion of the Italian league or the Chinese league, more often than not, they would beat them, especially in a 7-game series. But you have to think, if that competition's been going on for 70 or 80 years, someone's beaten the NBA. Like someone's come from behind and made it happen.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that, I mean, that's history being made, and that exists in this sport all the time, more often than you think.
Yes.
And we just don't really have that in a lot of American competitions to really.
Same for clubs, same for anything. It means there's a lot of football to watch all year round. So you can never say, "Oh, I didn't have time." Well, guess what? The time you have time, you have a competition in your hand to watch.
There's always something going on.
Basically,
we just had a great summer. We just had the Euros and the Copa America, and that basically filled our gap between the end and the new start for Champions League and all the domestic leagues. So we've basically had 3 weeks of no competition. But even then, I say that the Olympics are on right now.
Yeah,
it's on in the background right now. Like we've had literally no gaps in anything. So
there's always games, man.
Yeah, man.
Once you get in the sport, you like it definitely.
Yep.
I would say we'll see you guys next week actually for part 3. Is it part 3?
Yes, sir.
This part 3, the last part before the season starts, and catch us this year. We're gonna provide a good show.
Goodbye.